What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here with another college football team preview. Our goal with this series is to provide in-depth roster analysis and expectations ahead of the 2026 season for each college football team. So if this is the kind of in-depth analysis you like, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on this video, and checking out some of our other in-depth content. All right, let's get into it. LSU 2026. Looking for a rebound season, brand new head coach, spent a lot of money on Lane Kiffin. Here's a brief look back at LSU before we look forward to the coming season. So LSU will put up their recruiting numbers on the screen right now. Obviously, one of the better recruiters in the country. Within the SEC, it's always going to be challenging just with the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Texases of the world. But ultimately, this is still very clearly a top 10 recruiting program in the country. And with the recent investment they've made, not only in Lane Kiffin, but some of the NIL resources they've dumped into the program, this is a team that's probably going to start challenging those top three. And it all comes down to what they've done via NIL and recruiting. Obviously, they recruit in a hotbed nationally. But how we got here, the 2025 season finished 7-6. Obviously, Brian Kelly got fired in late October. They did have a number of decent wins, but the losses came to Ole Miss, 5 points, Vanderbilt, 7 points. They got blown out by Texas A&M, lose to Alabama, 20-9, and Oklahoma, 17-13. Finally, they had a bowl loss to Houston, if you want to factor in something like that. I don't think that really matters. All the SEC losses are what contributed to the Brian Kelly firing. But even in their wins, I think you could argue they underachieved. This was an offensively challenged team. They won 17-10 against a very down Clemson team that barely made a bowl game. They won 23-7 at Louisiana Tech, 20-10 against Florida, 20-10 against South Carolina. They won by 1 point against Arkansas, the worst team in the conference, and they beat Western Kentucky 13-10. Now, some of those were after the wheels had gone off. You know, Brian Kelly gets fired. They had the $54 million buyout. You have the Nussmeier injury. He's not playing at the end of the season, so it clearly went off the rails. Now they're hoping Lane Kiffin is the stabilizing factor. He was awesome with Ole Miss. He went 55-19. He brought them to the college football playoff, even if he didn't coach it. He's a premier offensive mind. He's built multiple programs up from the ground, kind of rebuilt his career as well after he floundered a little bit early on. But I mean, this guy was with FAU. We've seen him everywhere. He brings Charlie Weiss Jr. as OC, who did call plays with Ole Miss previously. It is a collaborative process, obviously, when Kiffin is your head coach. But, I mean, he's been a very successful OC after he was previously the youngest one in the country. They have Joe Cox as co-OC. And when these players or these coaches were together with Ole Miss, they were 9th overall in total offense. LSU was 95th. So just having the presence of proven SEC play caller should boost LSU inherently. The Ole Miss offense is pretty run-heavy, and it's going to be playing pretty fast, which is exciting for this team. At DC, they retained Blake Baker, which is no small feat. I wasn't sure he was going to stay here, but obviously his ties to LSU that go way back. Only real stop away from LSU was when he took the DC job from Missouri in 2022, and their defense was so good, LSU hired him right back immediately. And this defense did improve with him last year. They jumped all the way to 30th, so quite a lot of upside with Baker. He's a solid DC. And overall, this is just one of the most elite jobs in the country when it's run correctly. So now you're hoping Lane Kiffin does just that. Let's bring you to the depth chart. Again, if you're watching this, these depth charts are available in our Discord, which is linked below. But basically what you're looking at, there's going to be a value score on the screen. That is a 0 to 100 scale, 100 being the best. Those are your Heisman candidates, your first-round draft picks, stuff like that. 50 is your average player. And then zeros, anytime you get down there, that's going to be players that probably shouldn't be on the field for your various teams. But LSU, you don't have to worry about that. Team is recruiting at an elite level. QB, you bring in Sam Leavitt. I have not been the biggest Sam Leavitt supporter throughout his career. He was recruited as a 4-star to Michigan State. I don't really want to fault him for that. Michigan State is inept. They've been run into the ground. He goes to Arizona State. And in 2024, he has an awesome season. That's on the back of like having Cam Scatabo, Jordan Tyson was there. It's a very good supporting cast. And then last year, he takes the step back. Now, Levitt is 6'2", 205, again, a former four-star, 60% completion percentage. Last year, his stats fell to 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 18 big-time throws, and 12 turnover-worthy plays. That was all a step back from 2024. He also saw his sacks jump to 20. That was a 23% pressure to sack ratio, which is above the 20% threshold. It's just too high. But he does run 4.2 yards per carry, 5 scores on the ground, 306 rushing yards. But even that wasn't quite as good. Now, it should be noted he did break his foot in the season. That ended it early, and we don't know what he was dealing with before then. I don't want to put too much of these concerns on Levitt's shoulders. Arizona State does not have the resources LSU does. When they lose players like Cam Scatabo to the NFL draft, it's hard to replace them, and he's probably a bad example because they did have Raleek Brown on the team. But what I'm trying to say is the overall ecosystem with Arizona State took a step back from 24 to 25, and more was placed on Sam Levitt's shoulders. I think that was tough for him to deal with. Now, if Levitt can't play for whatever reason, LSU has incredible depth. Former five-star Hussein Longstreet came over from USC. I can't believe they added him. I thought he would have went somewhere to play immediately, but playing with Lane Kiffin is also enticing. He was the 25th recruit nationally last year. He's also an elite athlete. Like, he can run. Word on the street coming out of high school was the arm would take a little bit of time to come along, but you just take that kind of recruit 100 times out of 100 if they want to come to your school. And then Landon Clark came from Elon. He was literally 100th percentile FCS production. Like, clearly LSU is spending a lot of money. This is the 7th ranked QB room nationally. This is the 2nd ranked QB room in the SEC behind only Texas. This is an elite group. Wide receiver, basically everyone left. Xavier Thomas got drafted in the 3rd round. Barrion Brown got drafted in the 6th round. A couple other guys transferred. So it's a brand new wide receiver room. And the first player they get is Jace Brown from Kansas State. And this is a decent 3-star recruit, but more importantly, started immediately the second he walked on the field. He's 5'11", 179. He has nearly 2,000 receiving yards over the last 3 years and 13 touchdowns. He has a career average of 2.5 yards per route, which is elite. Last year, the number jumped to 2.93. He can play in and out of the slot. Last year, he was in the slot about 70% of the time, but if you need to play him out wide, he can do that. So a fantastic recruit right away. And then they bring in 2 promising recruits that are probably going to be your 2 and your 3. Jackson Harris from Hawaii, Eugene Wilson III from Florida. Hawaii transfer Jackson Harris actually was originally with Stanford, but last year he caught 49 balls, 963 yards. He was at 2.8 yards per route, and he's a perimeter receiver 92% of the time. And if you don't think he can make the jump from Hawaii to LSU, I kind of understand that argument. Well, you bring in Eugene Wilson, former 4-star from Florida. He had an amazing freshman season, 61 catches, 2 yards per route, in and out of the slot about half the time, tore his ACL the next year. That was 4 games in. The first 4 games were awesome. Comes back in 2025, just never really quite got his foot. I don't think that's all his fault. The Florida passing game was 86 nationally. Lagway completely imploded. So I'm still hopeful Eugene Wilson, as a high recruit, now 2 years removed from the ACL, can take a step back towards what we saw that freshman season. And if they can't, or let's just say they want to rotate guys, because we saw Ole Miss do that a lot, LSU probably does so as well, because you have Winston Watkins. He follows Lane Kiffin. I mean, this was a huge recruit. Former 4-star. Got on the field immediately as a freshman with 2 yards per route. In and out of the slot. He's going to play at least to some capacity, and maybe he beats out Eugene Wilson if Wilson's not ready, or Harris can't make the jump from Hawaii up to LSU. They also get Trey Brown from Old Dominion, who was a JUCO transfer originally, but man, was he's a one-trick pony to a degree, like a field stretcher, go route ball guy. 38 catches, 762 yards, 2.6 yards per route. His ADOT was nearly 17 yards. But even at 6'2", he had a 64% contested catch percentage. This is a good receiver. And man, like, I don't even know what you do with your other transfers. Like, I'm not sure why Malik Elzy, Roman Mothershed, Josh Jackson, or Tyree Holloway really came here. Elzy couldn't play at Illinois. Mothershed comes from Troy. Jackson's from McNeese, and Holloway's from West Florida. I don't know. Especially because, like, Philip Wright is still here. He's a 4-star player that they recruited last year. They recruit 3 more 4-star freshmen this year. like this room is going to lose players just because it's too hard to retain them all. They have like 10, 4 or 5 stars on the team. They're 7th nationally, 2nd in the SEC again, behind only Texas, which is funny. It's the exact same ranking as the QBs. Now, tight end, you lose Bauer Sharp. I was actually surprised he got drafted, but 6th-round pick. Doesn't really matter. They get back Trey'Dez Green. And I have a complaint with Nussmeier and Joe Sloan, just I need to vent. They should be crucified for giving Trey'Dez Green 51 targets. Trey'Dez Green is an absolute wagon. 6'7", 240, 33 catches, 433 yards, 7 touchdowns. Like, he was unguardable in the red zone with his size. This is a guy that played on LSU's basketball team. 1.6 yards per round. Honestly, like a little underrated as a blocker. I was surprised to see his stats hold up as well as they did. Now, I think that was more kind of putting him in advantageous positions. I don't think you ever really want Trey'Dez Green being your true inline tight end, but this is one of the best tight ends in the country. Behind him, they do add some more blockers, like Malachi Thomas comes in from Pitt. Zach Grace comes in from Oregon. You have some decent young players like J.D. LaFleur should be a candidate to get on the field. He's a redshirt freshman. The tight end room ranks 6th nationally, and it's number 1 in the SEC. No questions asked. Offensive line. This unit needed to be rebuilt. They were 72nd in pass blocking, 131st in run blocking. It should come as no surprise they basically turned over the whole thing. They did keep Virginia Tech transfer in center Braylon Moore. Comes over in last year's offseason. He was easily their best player on the O-line. He's now been a 3-year starter, 6'2", 301, only allowed 7 pressures last year. I mean, he's just a rock-solid anchor at center. The rest of the unit, I think you're probably looking at transfers. Left tackle, no question, should be former 5-star Jordan Seaton from Colorado, 6'5", 330. If you look at just the raw pressure numbers with him, it might not look that great because he played with the sack-taking king, Shedeur Sanders, in 24. And then last year, it wasn't a lot better, honestly. But he actually grades out well above average as a blocker, especially in the pass game. Somehow he only allowed 7 pressures last year. He's not the best in the run game, but I mean, the talent's there from a recruiting standpoint. I think he did awesome given what was around him at Colorado and Shedeur just taking sacks left and right. So, should be the perfect blindside blocker. Right tackle is a little more of a question. I think 4-star Darren Stray is probably your best option. He's 6'7", 322. Only played 18 snaps last year, but that was as a true freshman. It's probably him or Weston Davis. But my goodness, Weston Davis was so bad last year that you probably just have to look elsewhere. He is a former 4-star. He didn't get the best coaching, but he allowed 33 pressures. Weston Davis graded out in the 23rd percentile last year. Like, you just can't put that on the field unless I'm missing something. He was hurt, whatever it may be. It's just not viable. So I think Darren Stray should play. I don't know if he will. Other options are Sean Tompkins Jr. from Baylor. He started in the 30th percentile last year. You have Jamar Jones from Nichols. He only played 288 snaps. That's not promising. 4-star freshman Bryson Martinez is a 92nd percentile recruit. Maybe he could play. We'll have to see on this other tackle spot, but I'm thinking Stray is probably your highest upside position, but it's nice to kind of have Davis if you want a low upside consolation prize. Guards, Devin Harper follows the Ole Miss coaching staff, only played 72 snaps last year, but a high 4-star recruit. He'll get a look. Probably playing out alongside Alu Baugh from Maryland, who originally began his career with Georgia before starting 2 years with Maryland. Good pass blocking numbers, decent as a run blocker. I think those are your 2 starting guards. But for depth, Bo Bordelon's back. He's played a little bit for this team. You have a 4-star redshirt freshman in Solomon Thomas. Transfer from NC Central in Jaquan Sprinkle. He's a 49th percentile producer, not very good. William Satterwhite, another 4-star redshirt sophomore. Decent depth at center. Began his career with Tennessee. He's never really been particularly good. But my only real concern is, I guess, depth and then who wins that tackle spot. If it's Weston Davis, I'd have more concerns. If you end up going with younger, higher upside players, I'm okay with that. Currently, LSU's O-line ranks 24th. This is a 5th ranking in the SEC. So number 5 out of 16 teams for this conference. Getting back to the RB position, what's going to be running behind this O-line? I think improved O-line. Well, it's Caden Durham and it's Harlem Berry. Both of them were here last year. LSU was 118th in rushing efficiency, but Caden Durham is a 4-star junior. Harlem Berry is a 5-star sophomore. Durham Not the best efficiency, but really no one had good efficiency in this run game. He rushed for 505 yards. His efficiency metrics were pretty good. Almost 80% of those yards came after contact, which is crazy. Also caught 16 passes. This cannot be overstated. This O-line did Barry and Durham no favors. 80% of your yards coming after contact is outlandish. And it was almost the same for Barry. The only real difference was, Durham did all the dirty work well. Barry had some of the freshman errors last year. He fumbled 3 times. He dropped a pass on very few targets too. So I still think you're willing to go back to Barry, of course, as a 5-star, just correct some of those little young mistakes those players make. He was another player elite after contact. So that's your 1-2 punch. They bring in a lot of transfers. I'm not sure where all these guys think they're going to get snaps. Dylan Jones comes from Wisconsin, former 4-star. He was not the most efficient player, well behind the LSU backs. More of a pass-catching guy, so maybe he carves out a role on 3rd down. Stacey Gage comes in from Central Florida, another top 500 recruit. You never really saw the field down there, so I'm not optimistic here. Gainey and Gulleroy are younger players. I just don't know where the room is for them on this depth chart. Even just looking at your top 4, this is a deep unit. LSU ranked 17th nationally, 8th in the SEC in overall running back talent. So hopefully this unit improves this year. And before we get to the defense, this video is brought to you by our college football summer guide. We've been hard at work trying to get this to you ever since the spring. And what this includes for just $50, projections for every single game. That's a score, a total, and a spread. That means win totals for every single team, all 138. There will also be player projections for those of you involved in best ball. That's down to the statistical level. Think passing yards, passing touchdowns, etc. Depth charts for all 138 teams, which includes our value grading score. You've seen that on the screen in this very video. You'll get written analysis for most teams and players, which updates constantly throughout the summer. And that is a real separator for us versus the competition. Whenever news breaks, that will be immediately updated. You also get Discord access, which allows you to chop it up on any team, player, anytime there's a story. A lot of like-minded people in there just like you. You can also ask any question. Those will be addressed either here or in the Discord itself. And if you'd like to support in a smaller way, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel. That helps show YouTube that this content is actually worthwhile, and it gets us in front of new viewers in the long run, which just helps us keep doing this. You can also hype the video, leave a comment. Those are great ways to support the channel. And thank you if you've done any of that. It truly does help the channel grow. Last thing, if you or somebody you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, back to the video. All right, back to the defense. A lot of changes here, but this unit, pretty good last year. 39th in run defense, 75th in pass rush. Their defensive line loses Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, and Jamari Butler. Nothing really crazy there. Unfortunately, Gabriel Relaford already suffered a season-ending injury in the spring, so it's going to be all transfers. Princewell Umamielen comes in from Ole Miss. Jordan Ross comes in from Tennessee. Umamielen is a 4-star. 51 pressures last year on 49 snaps, just like enough said. Won't go too far with him. He's a stud. Ross is a former 3-star. He had 13 pressures last year, but played more of a rotational role. Also a pretty good run defender, but this is a guy that had a good bowl game, and he really flashed down the stretch. So I think that's promising. But even if it's not him, there are a lot of really young, talented players just from the recruitment LSU has been able to do, like in the state, in the area. Redshirt freshman Damian Shanklin's back. They have a true star 5-star in Lamar Brown. He's a hometown kid. He's from Baton Rouge. Lamar Brown's going to play at least a rotational role right away. They had a 4-star freshman in Trenton Henderson. Jalen Brown comes in from South Carolina. He's a former 4-star himself. Unfortunately, he missed all of 25 with a torn ACL. So while maybe this is not the deepest unit in terms of what you have for experience, it's just basically Umamielen. There's so many elite recruits on this defense, especially at the edge group. It's just really hard for me not to see them being at least average in the conference, that is. And I mean, if you're average in the SEC, you're probably like a top 30 edge group in the country. I mean, if you want some depth, like even Dylan Carpenter's played a little bit. Defensive tackle, loses a lot. Bernard Gooden, Jacobian Gulleroy, Ahmad Bro, Walter Mathis Jr. None of them were particularly good. 5-star Dominic McKinley is back. He was great in run defense on 370 snaps. Not the best like rusher, but the guy's a defensive tackle. You don't always get pass rushing production there. He stops the run, which is his main job. They also add some transfers, former 4-stars. Stephylan Green, Malik Blockton, Clemson, and Auburn, respectively. Green played 291 snaps last year. He was injured, started 4 games, good run defense numbers. He's 300 pounds. Also played 309 snaps in 24. Blockton, he's played 718 snaps the last 2 years, averaging run defense, but has 19 QB pressures, so pretty decent across the board. Should be rotational pieces each. And then depth, I mean, the recruiting classes are awesome. Again, you have another 5-star in Richard Anderson, 4-stars Deuce Geralds, I guess lower level transfers like Achilles Woods for depth if you really need it. I mean, this is a deep defensive tackle unit as well. I'm pretty optimistic on this defensive line with Baker as the head coach of this defense. I guess I should just say defensive coordinator. Anyway, we have them ranked 15th nationally, 6th in the SEC. Depth is maybe a minor question just due to youth, but I think the 5-stars probably mask a lot of that. Getting to linebacker, you lose some interesting players like Harold Perkins is gone. That's kind of okay. He was a 6th-round pick. West Weeks is gone. They still have a lot of experience, man. Like Whit Weeks is back. He's a 4-star. Devon Keys is back. He's a 4-star. Whit Weeks has played over 1,300 snaps, and he only played – I mean, he was reduced last year because he was hurt, but I mean, this guy's played at a high level since 24. His run defense was a little bit worse last year, but he's good in coverage. He had 125 tackles in 2024. Whit Weeks is a great place to start. Keys is more just your average starter. He led the team last year in tackles with 92, but his coverage numbers really brought him down. He allowed 25 catches on 30 targets. Now going to be a junior. Just move Keys forward. Don't have him in coverage, man. If you do that, you're going to maximize his talent. And then the most promising depth pieces, Charles Ross, Tylen Singleton, both young 4-stars, played a little bit last year apiece. They have Zach Weeks, another Weeks, I know. He's another 4-star. I mean, they bring in TJ Daugherty from Ole Miss, who could start. I'll say this. I didn't mention Daugherty earlier because he has not even reached average play the last 2 seasons because of egregiously bad coverage numbers and missed tackles, really. So Daugherty starts, he leads Ole Miss in tackles with 98, but his coverage was horrific, and he missed 16 tackles. So he's a dicey player. I don't know if they need him. This is a group of linebackers that are just a bit better recruited than what Ole Miss has. So I think Daugherty could actually take a step back and not need to play as much, which honestly maybe benefits him. Depth, elite. Jaden Breaker, Kolaj Cobbins, Kean Moses, all 4-stars recruited in the last 3 years. The linebacker room ranks 34th nationally, 8th in the SEC. Could be higher than that if some of the depth or just young recruits come along and beat out guys like Daugherty. Secondary, this team was pretty good last year. Obviously, you had a couple NFL draft picks. They ranked 23rd in coverage overall. So you lose Mansour Delane, 1st-round pick. You lose A.J. Halsey, a 3rd-round pick. You also lost a sophomore in Aiden Anding to a season-ending injury in the spring. But my goodness, this position might be in a better spot, honestly. DJ Pickett is back. DJ Pickett, your 5-star, who played immediately as a freshman, 524 snaps, only 20 catches. Now, he did get burned a couple times. That kind of just happens to freshmen. 3 touchdowns allowed, but 3 interceptions, 2 PBUs. He's 6'4", 195 with this kind of athleticism. I mean, DJ Pickett is one of the best corners in the country, according to preseason projections. PJ Woodland's back. 614 snaps last year. Good run defender. Only 20 catches allowed, 2 interceptions, 5 PBUs. I mean, you also get back to Sean Spears, who was pretty good on 460 snaps the last 2 years. We just need him to step into a full-time role. And I think he probably will play more this year. And if that's not enough, like your 4-star depth is incredible. Jakeem Jackson, Michael Turner, CJ Jim Coyley. Further, they recruited Havon Finley Jr., Des Ellis this year. I mean, this is an elite recruiting job for LSU. And the returning production you have that's proven is just some of the best in the country. Safety, you get back former Maryland NC State transfer Tamarcus Cooley. Basically, he was elite in the ACC with NC State. Last year in the SEC, he regressed to about that average mark. Part of that was he missed 16 tackles and he allowed 360 yards, 4 touchdowns. But he did have 2 picks and 7 PBUs. Good returning starter overall. Final safety spot, probably going to be like a Ty Benefield from Boise or a Fahim Delane from Ohio State. Benefield obviously comes with the experience, led the team with 107 tackles in the Mountain West last year. Kind of a boom-bust guy in coverage, allowed 10 touchdowns the last 2 years. So do you go with the experience or do you go with Delane, who was the 55th ranked recruit in last year's cycle, like a borderline 5-star guy? Depth is awesome. Same thing with all the 4 stars, a couple FCS guys. Secondary ranks 15th nationally, 7th in the SEC, which is just crazy. Kicker, you bring in Scott Starzik from Arkansas. He was an awesome kicker, made a couple 50-yarders. Solid addition for LSU here. And kind of the overall body of work, what they've done with this roster, this team should be improved in last year's. And then just what they've done with coaching should make a big difference as well. So we're going to contextualize all this in some graphs on the screen and show you where LSU ranks just among the 16 SEC teams. I think it's important to kind of contextualize it. 16 is the highest rank you can get. Obviously, LSU is above average in every single position, except maybe running back. Running back kind of right on the edge. Linebacker and DB are closer to average, but still very clearly have some upside. Quarterback and wide receiver, offensive line are all pretty solid. The win total for LSU is 8.5. Our projection comes in at 8.9. We have LSU ranked 10th in the country in our preseason power rankings. All of this indicating that we're a little bit above market on LSU. And here's the schedule to kind of show you how we got there. So pretty standard overall. You do play Clemson and non-con finishing out that series, but they're playing in their Death Valley. I mean, they're both Death Valley, but they're playing at home. We'll say that. They're going to be about 2 touchdown favorites over Clemson. The current addition of Clemson was a QB change and a lot of problems. Then you play Louisiana Tech and absolutely demolish that team. Your FCS games in week 5 against McNeese, that's actually kind of a good breather after you got to play Ole Miss and Texas A&M. I like for these SEC teams that throw their FCS game at a random spot or late in the season, just because the gauntlet of the SEC is so hard. Within conference, it does not start off easy. Your first SEC game is away at Ole Miss, and that's probably going to be the craziest game of the entire season with all the Lane Kiffin drama. Immediately after that, you have A&M at home. You get a little bit of a respite for the next about month with Kentucky, who is improved, Mississippi State, who's improved, and Auburn, who's improved, but those are still not the elite programs. After your buys where things get tough, Alabama, Texas, Tennessee in 3 straight weeks. Fortunately, this sets up about as good as it possibly could with 2 of those games coming at home. Bama and Texas got to come to your building. Even early in the season, A&M's got to come to your building. So, yeah, you play some tough teams. The tough ones on the road are Tennessee and Ole Miss. I think you'll take that if you can get Texas, Bama, and A&M in your spot. I guess Auburn on the road is kind of a tricky one too. That's also the last leg in an 8-game streak for them before they go to their bye. Tough spot for LSU overall, but that's what you get in the SEC. We think there's a better chance they eclipse their 8.5 win total than they are going under it. So that's where we stand. Potential college football playoff team in LSU. Should be a really fun season and an exciting one, seeing what we can get from Lane Kiffin in year 1.